Welcome back to Final Fantasy IX. We're going to actually be doing stuff in this part. Hooray!
You say while a black screen is on the video.
That's the loading times.
You could have cut those out, Ryan. Just
it's not important.
Okay. I also do like the kind of implication here that Zidane is good with kids, or at least likes kids, because he kind of treats these two, from what I'm seeing right here, he kind of treats these two kids almost the same way he treats Vivi. So I think that's
I was gonna say you get that as early as Vivi, I would say.
Yeah, but it doesn't just extend to him; it extends to even. Well, I was gonna say nameless NPCs, but they technically have names. So yeah.
I'm out of the group now, but I'm going to totally spill for your stuff.
Yeah. No, these are all Zidane's life savings.
I like how there are 3 separate treasure chests just for money.
Yeah. That's to make it look like they have a lot of stuff.
And the 3 treasure chests together don't even add up to that much.
No.
Hey, they could buy like
Alright.
gumballs with that money.
Now we get to find out what Baku and his crew are doing.
And like, if a fork costs like 1,100 gil, like, stuff inflation must be huge in Lindblum.
Well, to be fair, it is a big-ass fork.
Yeah,
By
it's
the
a really
way,
big fork.
this ATE, I want to call attention to this. This is supposed to be your clue on where to find one of the rare coffee beans.
Wait,
Yep.
really?
Yeah,
Yep.
because Cinna leaves it behind.
Now, is the coffee side quest worth it? Do you get a good reward for it?
It's bragging rights.
Yeah.
I
I
think
do it because it's there.
what you get is one of the airship models, which is just another key item for your list.
Oh.
Yeah, if you're a completionist, you want to do
Yeah,
it.
so you get like some flavor text and stuff, but that's about it.
Do you have to go out of your way for it most of the time, or these areas are going to be finding anyway, and you just have to backtrack to that guy?
I'm pretty sure you have to search pretty thoroughly for the coffee and for the Zodiac coins. I think you get more for the Zodiac coins, but I've never bothered to do all of that. We also picked up another model, actually, just a few seconds ago. The Mini Burmecia that was found under the bed in the Tantalus HQ, or maybe it was on top of the bed. I don't know. It's hard to tell with these graphics.
This is basically just not Final Fantasy, Resident Evil styled pre-rendered areas, right?
Yeah, backgrounds are pre-rendered.
Although, which game did it first, Final Fantasy or Resident Evil?
What in terms of
Which came
pre-rendered?
Which came out first?
Resident Evil 1 came out before 7 did.
Okay,
So.
fair. All right, got it.
And this is how all 3 PlayStation Final Fantasy games worked?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
10 was the first fully 3D one.
Yeah, although I will say Final Fantasy VII handled it a bit differently than 8 and 9. A lot of the time in Final Fantasy VII, the camera was pulled way, way back, to the point where your character sprite was really tiny. And, oh, yeah, that's a guy in a suit. It looks exactly like the Moogle model, except it's bigger.
Yep.
But also, Final Fantasy VII had D-pad control. And every time the camera reoriented itself, you had to figure out which direction you were going to go when you pushed the up button. It's especially awkward when you're playing on a keyboard.
Because that's actually, there is D-pad control in this game. You can go to the options menu and set it to run or walk with the D-pad. I set it to walk with the D-pad so that I wouldn't have to, so I could just run with the control stick, and if I ever needed to go slowly, I don't know if there's ever a... I kind of instinctively went slowly over the bridges in the beginning of the game. I don't know if there's ever a point where, like, walking...
The only time walking slowly is ever important is in this one mission in Final Fantasy VIII, where you have to walk, otherwise you attract attention or something. I think it was in the missile base mission as Selphie and Irving and whoever else you sent with her.
The little escape sequence in 7, when you're trying to get out of Aerith's house.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
You have to walk out. If you run,
you make
go
noise.
back to bed, mister. You're not my mom. Not yet.
Yeah. You make noise, and she runs out and gives you one of her broken English lines.
Oh, this guy are sick.
Okay, so it's not like Pokemon. If you run outside, you have a higher encounter rate or anything.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Well,
apparently
there is the step trick I did for the ragtime.
Yeah,
mouse,
apparently,
but-
apparently, shuffling. You know, the the monsters on the overworld are so impressed by your sick dance moves that they won't attack you.
Oh man, I love the guards' outfits in Lindblum. They just have these frickin' robes and cone head things. That is the last thing I would want to be wearing if I were a city guard. And that counts thong armor.
Good to know, I guess.
It's so snuggly.
Now, if you got a big, massive frickin' cone on your head, imagine what happens if you have to move quickly.
Or if you have to walk through a door.
Hey, your headbutts are really gonna hurt.
They might just hurt you more than they hurt the enemy, though.
Yeah, but as a last line of defense, you can like charge at your opponent head down. You can pierce their abdomen.
Yeah, how do you think Pinhead Larry does it? Who you calling Pinhead?
Yeah, this is a bit of a bizarre sequence of events. You have to talk to the guy in Garnet's room. Well, you have to talk to Steiner first in Garnet's room, and then you have to go down here so you can hear the song.
Yeah.
And then you talk to the sleeping guy to get the suit.
Now, there is a vocal version of this song. You just don't hear it until, I think, the credits.
Melodies of Life. Yeah.
Is Garnet singing this song?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually really
Except-
nice. If they actually went out of their way to make a vocal song for.
They made a vocal, and they play it during the credits. But what we're hearing now is the La 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 version. And by that I mean every word is la. Every single one.
Now, is it sung in Japanese in the credits or in English?
English.
There are two versions.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a Japanese and an English version.
Yeah.
Sung by the same girl, I think, because she's bilingual.
Oh, cool. Is it one of the? Well, it shouldn't be that they can't process it during gameplay because it's just CD audio. An MP3 is an MP3.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just capitalizing on because 8 had Eyes on Me, right?
Yeah.
So 9, I think, wanted to follow suit with its own song.
Yeah.
Melodies of Life,
At the
so.
same time, though, since it's Garnet singing, they probably didn't want to have to explain why she doesn't have voice acting anywhere else in the game.
Good point.
I love this armor, by the way. It's got a visor for your mouth, and your nose just pokes out over top of it. The armor design in Lindblum is fucked up.
It's like they're putting all the resources in steam power, not so much of the armor.
Yeah, on that note, Final Fantasy has some really freaking weird clothes designs, and it gets weirder and weirder with each progressive entry. And I'm not just talking about the Tetsuya Nomura zippers and belts crap, either. I mean, if you just stop and look at every NPC that you pass in 10 and 13, what the fuck are they all wearing?
Did Nomura work on 9? Just wondering. Because I know he did Kingdom Hearts in 7 and 8 and 10, but I don't know if he did Final Fantasy 9.
If he was involved in character, I don't know if he was involved in character design. I think it was strictly Yamano.
I think at the same time that they were working on 9, they were also working on 10, because they were talking about 10 while 9 was still pre-release. They were saying...
Yeah. Final Fantasy is... This is not new for Square, because one of the funniest things I remember is when they announced Final Fantasy 14 before 13 came out.
Well, yeah, but that was because 14 was going to be the next MMO, and they're basically treating 11 and 14 like a different series at this point.
Yeah. Actually, there's an Easter egg with the ragtime mouse. The little card that he's holding. You can never get a good look at it, but it does have Japanese, I guess, kanji or whatever. Whatever. I always get the two mixed up.
Kanji.
Talking about
Kanji is the word for like the symbols that mean a specific word. Hiragana, katakana, those are those refer
The syllabaries.
to the syllables.
yeah. Well, the card in Japanese talks about how 10 is going to have a pretty edgy plot. But if look it up if you ever get the chance. Yeah, there's a bit of a 10 Easter egg on that card.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like, I think I mentioned this in an earlier part, but pre-release articles for this game talked about it directly in comparison to 10. They said they wanted to do one more, old school style Final Fantasy before going in a new direction with 10. So, I like this sequence. You can just sort of spot the the different locations that you can go to out in the world map once you're out at Lindblum. And it's handy to remember this stuff because every location that you notice here is a place that you can go.
That's nice.
The Chocobo Forest, for example. And that's the first place you want to go.
Yeah, that's the first place you're going to waste an hour.
Yeah.
Just playing Chocobo hot and cold.
Getting all the Chocograss. I had terrible luck with Chocobo hot and cold in this run, so I don't really show much of it. Yeah. I show getting all the treasure, but not getting the Chocograss, because that's just grinding.
Yeah, there's like a small handful of the Chocograss that you can get during Disc 1.
You can get 9, I believe.
Yeah, just all out in this particular area.
So why are we getting Chocobo weed?
No, not Chocograss, Chocographs. They're like little map fragments that you find that you dig up in the Chocobo minigame, and they lead you to treasures.
So we're finding the Triforce charts. Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, after Final Fantasy VIII completely botched Chocobos in favor of cars, Final Fantasy IX gave the Chocobos full glory again, and it is awesome. And quite a lot less tedious than Chocobo breeding. I never did like Chocobo breeding. You kind of just need a guide for it, and then a lot of time.
Yeah, the biggest pain in the ass with Chocobo breeding in 7 was the RNG of getting a specific gender.
Save scum.
Yeah, I know, but it's still a pain in the ass.
It kind of,
yeah, I know.
You say breeding, and I'm thinking of the people who will spend forever running back and forth in front of the Pokemon daycare center, like trying to make sure that their Pokemon are the right nature and stuff. Because if you want to,
that's actually kind of
Yeah, they're quite similar.
Yeah,
but I'm looking back on what we said about Nomura. No, he was not involved in 9 at all.
Huh.
Yeah, he was probably busy with 10.
Yeah, which is weird because I would think he would be, at least if we're going old school here, he'd be a monster designer because that's what he was beforehand before he took over character designs.
Huh.
And he was really good at it.
Did he do those for the 16-bit Final Fantasies?
Yeah, he was a debugger in 4. He went uncredited. He was a monster designer in 5 and 6.
Oh, okay.
And he also took over character design starting with 7, but he also did monster designs on the side.
Yeah,
Then he went with Power, making him hearts.
Yeah.
And now the Final Fantasy VII remake, what he didn't even know he was in charge of.
Wait, what? Explain.
Apparently,
somebody woke him up.
No,
it's like, hey, you're doing this now.
Apparently, when they were told that they were making a remake of Final Fantasy VII, Nomura thought the original director was in charge, and the original director thought Nomura was in charge.
What? Who?
Well,
Sakaguchi?
Here's the thing. No. Hironobu Sakaguchi and Tetsuya Nomura are both credited as the people who made up the story that Final Fantasy VII was based on, and Sakaguchi isn't with Square anymore, I don't believe.
No, he left and made Last Story.
Yeah. So that leaves Nomura.
Sakaguchi, come back.
What is Sakaguchi even doing now, anyway? I mean, he can't make a Kickstarter Final Fantasy game because the Last Story essentially it just is that. So.
Nah, I'd say no. The Last Story is. It has a Final Fantasy-ish look in the sense that the character designs and atmosphere sort of look like something.
Oh no, it doesn't play like a Final Fantasy game at all.
Yeah, it doesn't play remotely like one. It doesn't have a story remotely like one either, really.
But it kind of reminds me of something that, people kind of make fun of all of the not games that come out on Kickstarter, like the not, like Ukuleles, the not Banjo-Tooie, Bloodstained, the not Castlevania. Last Story's the not Final Fantasy.
Yeah, when the Last Story came out, people were expecting it to be, just Final Fantasy under a new name, and it wasn't.
No, that was Bravely Default.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both are good games, though. You should play them.
Oh yeah, Bravely Default's a great game.
Last Story's good too.
If that shit.
The Last Story is a wonderful game, provided you have a classic controller.
Yeah.
Oh, the festival.
Is
Yes.
this the Hunter Festival thingy?
Yeah, and
Yep,
the Zagnol.
it's basically the running of the bulls.
Yeah, the Zagnol here is your first optional boss of the game. Final Fantasy IX actually has a surprising number of optional bosses actually sprinkled throughout the game that you can access at certain points, which is something that, apart from Well, apart from this, I don't think any of the Final Fantasy games starting with the PlayStation really do that.
It's just an RPG thing in general, really. If you're gonna have optional bosses, they're super bosses that you only get access to at the end of the game. Like
Final Fantasy IX and some of the older Final Fantasies have optional bosses that are sprinkled throughout the game that you can only access at certain points in the story. And if you go fight them, you get something. If you don't, then you don't get something, but you can move on anyway.
I would say 5 and 9 are the kings of that trope.
Yeah. Oh God, the Tantarian, or however you call it, that boss.
I think it's Tantarian.
Yeah. There's a book. Or is this there's an evil book book optional boss that you can access at 2 specific points in the game where you're supposed to be hurrying through the castle, but if you detour toward the library during both of these points, you can fight the Tantarian. You can only fight him once. If you fight him earlier on, you get you get stuff that's a lot more useful at that point in the game because he has the same item set as you would get if you fought him later. But obviously if you fight him later, you're higher leveled and it's actually, doable.
Yeah.
I know the good trick to do them, though.
But there are workarounds, so...
You do some sort of cheap exploit in order to beat him early.
Minus strike and antibody.
Hey, it's called strategy, guys.
Oh, actually, the Tantarian boss is one of those bosses that really pushes you. He's not super boss tier, even when you fight him the first time. Like, provided you haven't been running for fights left and right, you'll probably be able to take him.
There's only one thing you hate about Tantarian, it's Paper Storm.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything else is fine. Fighting him is not a problem. It's Paper Storm you gotta watch out for.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
We'll see him later.
Did the intern get really upset and just knock all the books off the floor or something?
Yeah, it's 52 pickup.
Oh, this is Hunter's Chance. Speaking of the last story, there's a Coliseum in the last story that you can go into. Umatsu did the soundtrack for that game too. There's the song that plays during the Coliseum in the last story almost sounds exactly the same as this song right here. It's actually pretty funny.
I'm gonna have to listen to that. Give me a link when this part's over.
Yeah.
Which is actually in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me a link.
I don't have it ready. I have to load up YouTube.
Damn it, Ted.
I'm sorry.
I like how into it Steiner is getting.
Even though he's rooting for Vivi, which is the hardest to make win.
Oh yeah. Before we end the part, I should explain something about the hunting festival. The reward you get doesn't depend on whether or not you win the game. It's who wins. You'll get the reward. It's just you'll get the reward that particular person chose.
And if you're smart, you'll let Freya win.
Yep.